I am just able to pay my bills right now. So hopefully at some point, because, I'm not the only one doing this. Jill and Larry and Jennifer, they're all working their butts off. In fact, I do want to talk a little bit about Jill's tour of instructors in a bit. But at some point, I would like to be making enough to kick down some cash to the moderators, Michael Garzon and Kelly Harper, as well as Jill, Larry, and Jen, because they are really working their butts off. I couldn't do it without them.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 164. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Have you recovered from our big house concert?
I have recovered. Boy, that was a lot of fun, though.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone that showed up. It seemed like everybody had a good time.
I think so. We had some deep, meaningful conversations.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad that it was, it ended up being a smaller group because it was like, as Shannon and Jamie had said during their concerts, that like the people kind of self-select who really wants to be there. It's super important to them. And I think because of that, it made just for some really great conversation. Yeah,
absolutely. I also think there were a lot of people that didn't know what to expect and just rolled the dice.
Yeah.
And it seemed like everybody was really happy with what they got.
I agree. And thank you to those of you who gave it a chance, gave it a shot.
Absolutely. So I don't know, maybe in the future we'll give another one a shot sometime. Who knows? Maybe I can do a house concert with Mickey Dolenz.
You never know.
That would be fun. So if I actually want him at my house.
I know.
Not a virtual one.
I was like, you're not going to take being over the computer. That's not going to get enough.
I'm spoiled.
He's from the Monkees, for anybody who doesn't know that.
Who doesn't know that?
Well, we might have some younger Spectrum listeners.
Well, now that you've insulted me and the Monkees, what do you have in store for people this week?
We are going to talk about Pelothon. We are going to talk about new crap that Echelon's trying to pull. There's a new head of music at Peloton we're going to talk about. Stock market update and some other good stuff, including our Fight Camp contest.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us while you're there. Be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you would be so kind, maybe even leave a review.
That would be so delightful.
That would be. And we might even read it on the show. Like this one.
Ooh.
This is
Who is it?
Day Old News.
Oh.
That's what their screen name is.
I wonder if that's their leaderboard name. I don't know that one.
They do not leave their leaderboard name, so we don't know.
Okay.
They say, just got my bike and went searching for a podcast to enhance my entrance into this new exercise world. These hosts have so much fun together and do a great job of blending breaking news with informative, fun interviews of writers. They include a great question about tips for newbies that has been very helpful for me. So that's nice to hear.
I think that might be the first time anybody's ever said that.
Yeah, so that's great that it's getting utilized in that fashion.
Woo!
There's also a lot of terminology that I'm trying to catch up on, so it would be awesome if occasionally they could reiterate what things like HRI or Power Zone are for this clueless noob, but very much enjoying what I'm learning. Okay, that's fair.
That is fair. Good feedback.
So,
good feedback.
HRI was Home Rider Invasion, which is now Homecoming.
Yes.
And Power Zone is just a way to utilize the bike that's very mathematical and scientific.
Yes.
And focused on advancing you further in your physical achievements.
Look at you, Tom. You've learned so much from doing this podcast.
Yeah, and if you what Dennis Morton is a big one for that, right? So yeah. So
there's like 4 instructors that do it now.
Okay.
So it's like Olivia, Christine, Dennis, and Matt.
Okay. So if that's what you're looking for, you can go check them out.
Definitely.
So also, while we're in the shameless plugs, don't forget we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's a great way to stay up to date on stuff throughout the week. And sign up for the newsletter at theclipout.com, where you'll get all the articles, pictures, videos, whatnot, emailed to you in one concise weekly digest. And if you just can't get enough of us, we've got another podcast all about tonal called The Superset.
Yeah.
So that's available in all the same places. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
Let's do it.
It's time for News of the Peloton.
Pelothon 2020 is upon us.
It is. Starts July 13th. So what is it?
What is it? All I can think of is a largely forgotten film called Americathon.
No, I don't know what that's about, and it sounds boring.
It's not.
Okay. Do you remember back in January, Peloton came out with this thing like join a house.
Right. So there was Hufflepuff and Slytherin and Jigglypuff.
No.
And
no. This is for Peloton.
Squirtle.
No.
No.
So what they did is they took all the instructors and they broke them down into 6 houses. And then all of a sudden, and I'm pretty sure the all of a sudden was because of COVID.
Right.
It just stopped. Like nothing else happened with it. Like they were all like, choose a house. And then people chose a house.
And then they chose a house, right? And then they had to shelter in place.
Unfortunately, we did not get to shelter in place with the instructors we chose. So just my feedback about that was that I was really frustrated at the time because the way that they divided the instructors was like your favorites were all spread out.
Right. Which I'm sure is purposeful.
I know, but it's irritating because then you got to pick. So, I ended up not picking any of my favorites because of that. So I don't know. Does that prove something to them? Is it purposeful?
I doubt they're drilling down to figure out who signed up for which house.
Well, at any rate, so fast forward now 6 months later, and we're going to do this new thing called Pelothon. And it's the same teams from the houses, or appears to be the same teams for the houses. Oliver's gone, so it's a little bit different.
Sure.
And we have a couple new instructors.
Yeah. You wouldn't want him in your house. I want to share a bathroom with that guy. Allegedly.
Anyway, and so starting on July 13th, you're going to be on this team if you opt in, and you have 4 weeks of challenges. Every week is a different challenge.
Okay.
And so all of the proceeds from this go to benefit World Hunger. So every time you ride or you complete the challenge or whatever, $1 goes to one of these 4 different World Hunger organizations.
Okay.
They're going to kind of highlight one of those organizations each week.
Right.
And basically that's all you got to do. You can go and check on your team to see where they are in the standings each week. But it's like the first week, it's super simple. The first week it's like, take a class with each one of the instructors on your team. Now, I do want to point out that they have recommended class times each week. So what they did is they're like, this team meets at noon on Fridays. I'm just giving an example.
Sure.
Noon Eastern, by the way. Well, nobody can do that. I mean, I guess there's some people, the people who don't have jobs, okay, great for you. But they didn't choose anything for people in the morning or in the evenings.
Right.
Like it's all in the middle of the day. Like the earliest
like,
one was 7 a.m., which most people have to get up and go to work at that time.
So do you think maybe next week it'll be a different time of day? Oh,
I don't.
It's all mapped out already?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
But it's like you're supposed to gather with your team if you can. It's just a suggested time.
Sure.
But the way that they did it, typical Peloton, this is like one thing that I wish they would get better at is communication. Because the way that they communicated it makes it seem like you can only join the team if you're going to take a class during that time.
Gotcha.
So you have no idea how many times this has only been up for an hour. I have answered the question 20 times, like not even joking. And that's me.
Right.
not Peloton. So
you're not Peloton.
Right. So if they would just spell that out better for people on the front end, then people would, because people are like, they don't want to join a team and not get points for their team.
Right. They don't want to damage their team because if your team doesn't hit their goal, they actually spread world hunger. Like that's what they'll just come over to your house. They'll kick a sandwich right out of your kid's hand.
No. That won't happen.
They'll poke holes in your juice box.
No. So the reason I bring that up is you can work out anytime. You do not have to work out at a certain time. That was just a recommendation so that the people on the team could all gather and like high five together and stuff. One of the weeks, I think it's the last week, you have to give a certain number of high fives. Like it's all very doable stuff.
Right.
Another thing that's coming up a lot is, this is going to be really hard to do in conjunction with the Power Zone challenges. So I think that, people kind of have to choose because there's so many things. But for me, it's a no-brainer because it's Peloton's first challenge on the bike.
Sure.
And it's for a great cause.
Yeah.
It's not just for some random thing going into somebody's pocket. Like, this is actually benefiting someone.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a done deal. But the cool thing is they haven't announced this yet anywhere. I didn't see this come out in an email. So I want to make sure that I mention it here. Each team has a water bottle on sale in the shop. They're ridiculously expensive. They're $32 a pop. But some of the proceeds, I believe it was 20%, go to each of these organizations. So,
Gotcha.
You're giving money to a good cause. I know you probably don't need another water bottle. I didn't either. But I had to get one.
Shocking.
I know. I knew you'd be shocked. And people have asked me already, again, it's been up for an hour, and I've been hearing, why don't we have tanks? Why don't we have teas? I don't know why they didn't, but I also don't know that they won't.
Right.
Because it doesn't actually start till the 13th, so maybe they will.
Yeah, they do it in phases.
And somebody asked about badges. I saw there will be a badge at the end for your team.
Whew.
So, okay.
What a relief.
I know.
So let me ask the question that I'm sure everyone's asking themselves right now.
Uh-oh.
What team are you on?
I don't even want to say what team I'm on. I am on the Unstoppable team.
Okay.
And that team has Alex and Chelsea and Maddie and Christine Diercole. And I know I am missing somebody else that's on that team, but those were the instructors. So.
Well, it's not like they can just go look you up and see, right?
I don't know.
I would
can
just
they?
assume.
I guess they can. Yeah, because it's a hashtag. So
Right.
you can see on the hashtag everybody who's following. So if you're following me, you'll see it anyway.
Right.
But if you're not following me, you don't care. If you're not following me, then you won't have any idea about any of this.
You didn't care about the question in the first place.
There you go.
You know what? We meant to talk about this. This is a little side note. It's not in our notes. I'm calling an audible.
Oh, okay.
About people who follow you.
Oh, yeah.
And if they have followed you recently and you have not followed them back, you're not being a snarky bitch.
I'm not. I have reached my limit.
They won't let you follow any more people.
Yeah, you can only follow 2,000 people on your profile. So I've reached my limit. I can no longer follow other people. I would have to defollow people to follow people. So if you really care about me following you, reach out, because I know there's people that I follow that don't care that I'm following them. So if it's really super important to you, reach out to me.
Sure, but I just wanted people to know that if for some reason they did and they're not like, oh, she won't even follow me back. Well, this is why.
That is why.
Yeah.
That is why. I am not ignoring anyone.
Checking out the competition.
Well, this story broke right as we were sitting down to record. So that worked out nicely.
Thank you,
John Mills.
John Mills.
Yeah. So Echelon launched a new salvo in the Peloton Echelon Battle, which will one day be a Netflix docuseries.
I wonder if it will.
Doubtful.
Yeah, you never know. Sorry, got distracted. But yeah, so let's see. Peloton, you might remember, sued Echelon for basically
stealing the idea, and
everything,
the look,
yeah, how it sounds, everything. Echelon, bleh. And they do that with everybody. They've stolen it from Mirror, they've stolen it from the treadmill makers.
Yeah.
They've done it to everybody. They have a rower now. So it's not just Peloton is my point. Echelon, they can't come up with their own ideas. They just go and steal from everybody else.
I saw the other day they actually had a new instructor named Wat Milpers. I thought that's a bridge too far.
Yeah. Well, I think everything about Echelon is a bridge too far. So what's the deal here? What are they saying now?
So they are saying that basically the patents that Peloton is claiming to have and are trying to protect aren't really patentable. They're not very patenty. I think that's legal speak. They're basically saying that these are just concepts, not actual patents of mechanical specifications or technological advancements.
I don't think that that's true, or they wouldn't have already won.
Well, so they didn't technically win.
I know, they settled.
And so the article says that so there are two ways these things can be hashed out. You can apparently, and I know everything about this that I read in this article that stayed in my head. So keep that in mind. But that there are two ways you can handle this. You can either go to court and battle it out and let a judge decide, or a jury, I guess, if you go that route. Or you can go to a patent appeals board, and the patent appeals board tends to be more friendly to patent challengers than a court of law is, right? Because my guess is, well, one, there's been a lot of issues over the last 20 years with patent trolls, and so I think they're kind of sensitive to that these days. But a lot of people felt like if they had gone to the mat with Flywheel, that they might not have won that it was not as much of a slam dunk as you might think, according to this article, for whatever that's worth. So we will see. I would think, again, not a lawyer, but there's also a lot of things kind of working in concert here in terms of like the accusation of them ripping off their patents, and then the fact that they made their bike look pretty much just like theirs.
And their leaderboard.
And their
commercials.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, this is the same company who I believe Peloton had to issue a cease and desist because their entire like breakdown of all the details whenever you compare them and contrast them, like they totally lied about everything.
Right. So, and then you see them doing this to other companies, right? They have their version of me. So, I mean, I think if you look at it holistically, like while those individual patents might not be enough to build a case on their own, if you make it part of a larger picture. And they even said in the article that they're like, there's still lots of other ways for them to lose this. Even if Echelon wins this patent argument, it's not like the case goes away. There's still lots of other things. There's plenty to fight about.
There's always plenty to fight about. It's funny. It's just like there are companies that I really respect and there are companies that I really don't like. And this goes beyond just like competition to me.
Right.
The way that they operate their business is just slimy.
Yes.
And I don't like how they operate their business. I think the way that they run their business does not seem like it matches my morals.
Right.
And I don't like it. So I wish them nothing but the worst. And I hope Peloton decimates them. I hope all the other companies go after them and run these people into the ground because they are bottom feeding jerks.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you don't really see one thing that looks like
unique.
That didn't pre-exist somewhere else.
I agree.
So
plus they got that stupid peanut butter and jelly song and it's so dumb.
And don't even get me started on Wat Milpers.
Breaking news.
Peloton has a new head of music.
They do. It's Gwen Bethel Riley. And people keep getting this confused and thinking that DJ John Michael was head of music. He was never head of music. Right. He had a completely different title. I only say that because it makes it seem like this person was replacing DJ John Michael. Not the case. He's like associate producer of music or something. Like he has a entirely different title and he's doing his own very cool things. He's
okay.
Yeah, he's fine. But this is exciting news because
she sings all the songs now. Like it's just her singing the songs, right? Like that saves them lots of money. They only have to pay for mechanical rights. They don't have, and she just comes out and sings. She's like, "Here's Baby Got Back."
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
No, it's just the opposite. In fact,
just to be clear, nothing he says is true.
Yeah. So it's interesting because she has a background. Gwen has a background. Gwen, my buddy Gwen. She's got a background in video games. So we're talking Xbox. And she also comes from Disney Consumer Products and Interactive Media. She was the head of business affairs there and sourced and licensed commissioned music and global talent for games, consumer, blah, 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 blah. She did a whole bunch of stuff. And like I said, video games were among her specialties. This is interesting because Riley has been there for about a year and there are now 3 Disney classes. So people find that interesting. As soon as I posted this, people were all over it.
She had somebody on speed dial.
Like, no, I'm saying that she may have, but I'm saying people reached out to me immediately telling me that like there have been recently Disney rides added.
Right.
So I guess maybe she could help with that because she went on to say in a different article that we have also in here. This one's from Variety that kind of talked about her taking over this new position. But she had been at Peloton for a year. She goes into this new position and she's been working on all these partnerships with music. So a lot of these artist collaborations we've seen, she's had a direct hand in. And so part of the cool thing is this other article that was in Forbes Gwen talks about why artists should take Peloton for a spin. And there was some really interesting stuff in here. Like they talked about one of the questions was, what have you learned during the past 2 years with these artist series? And Gwen said that we do a lot of rides around an artist catalog or a music theme. Our instructors create narratives around these events. They're not just doing a 30-minute hit workout programmed around Lady Gaga. It also happens to be personal to that instructor about the first concert they went to, or something fun from a music video that brings the music alive. And in some cases, like with Billie Eilish or Lizzo, sometimes the members haven't had a chance to listen to them. And so it's like bringing this whole new audience to the artist. So that's pretty exciting, which I know as writers, we've all speculated about, but this is proof of it. They're saying that,
well, and I've been saying that for years, right? That
you said that a long time ago.
I'm like, this is a great way to help break an artist to a different demo.
It is. And so then they talk about like what's next for the series. And so then Gwen says that they've accelerated those artist rides up to about 1 a week. And she references that they now have 2.6 million members. They are a digital music program, but it's not passive listening like when you turn on your Spotify and do whatever you're doing. This is an active engagement where you're choosing a class because you scanned the playlist and you liked it. That's a driver for a lot of people when they're choosing a class.
Right.
And then she talked about that they're maximizing their partnerships with publishers who have worked hard to come up with agreements with. So the author of the article says, well, what does a Peloton partnership look like? And they said that it's time to look at music contacts as partners, that they're looking for interesting touch points. So in any given month, they might be talking about like Women's History Month or programming for Pride, and that they're big celebrations and they take them seriously. This was fascinating. This next part, she puts together artist panels. They are not public facing. That is something they're doing for the company. They recently did one for Asian Heritage Month. They had Johan from Linkin Park, Sawidi, and a new and evolving producer, Sean Wasabi, come in and talk about everything from their fan base to different parts of their heritage. We talked a lot about technology. They're designing and using a lot of tech, and for that reason, they're very interested in talking to a technology company. So that was super exciting. They also said that they've done a songwriter series, but they're getting ready to do a DJ series that they're going to start to create. So super, super exciting about all the new music stuff coming out.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that was a lot of reading from an article, but I just wanted to share that with you because I know not everybody always gets to go to our newsletter and check all these things out.
It's also great to get a peek behind the scenes of like what goes into an artist series and the thought process, and I think that's fascinating. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Peloton with music artists be similar to MTV when it first started. Like when MTV first started, it was when they said we want to play videos, the record labels were like, well, how much are you going to pay us to show this video? And they were like, well, you don't charge a radio station for the record. We're not going to pay for the video, like you provide it to us. And the record labels were like, here's a counter offer, go F yourself. And then they were like, well, okay, we're not going to pay for anything. And then all of a sudden they were breaking artists. I mean, they like Duran, like part of the reason Duran got played so much is because they could get it for free. And so all of a sudden that becomes a huge top 40 hit. And the record labels were like, maybe you're more important than we thought.
Now we get it.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're right. That seems very likely on the table. And I think that article, both of those articles kind of spoke to that.
Totally.
And without saying it so bluntly.
Yeah.
But I think that artists are starting to catch on to that. I
Absolutely.
mean, we've seen, I know it's been almost 2 years since we went to that event where they said we're going to have an artist series and it was going to be Cher and Madonna and like Paul McCartney. But like, look how many artists have come out since then with their collaborations. It's been amazing.
And as we also know, a lot of the artists, they've got a bike or a tread.
Yeah, we also know that.
So they already dig it.
That's true. I just want to mention something else. I'm calling an audible, Tom.
Uh-oh, 2 audibles.
I know. This is getting crazy. It's not really news, but I wanted to mention it because we had a lot of people bring up the fact that during Stephen Little's interview, F-bombs were bleeped. So
yes.
I just want to let you guys know that we have a production company that is making it possible for us to have 2 podcasts, and they are the ones that edit the podcast. And we have a thing that we have to do when we load it up to iTunes that says we're clean or explicit. And so since we say that we're clean, they just are trying to keep it that way. Like they don't reach out to us for every cuss word and say, can we leave this one in.
Yeah.
So, and I think the reason that one was left in is because I think like you're allowed one, just like you are on TV.
Or they might have just missed it.
Could have missed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't ask them because it wasn't that big of a deal. But you all crack me up that you are so stressed about us bleeping out the F-bombs.
If you're that upset, just hit me up on Facebook video and I'll cuss at you. I don't mind. And my guess is they forgot one. I remember when I was in radio back in the day, there was a commercial that wasn't Live Nation at the time, but the concert promoter at the time said, and it was a national spot. And it was, and they bleeped it out, but what they were trying to say was, it was for Ozfest, and it was, when Ozfest comes to town, it's gonna be the fucking shit. and they bleeped out F, but they didn't bleep out shit. And it ran for like 2 weeks before anybody noticed, because you hear
they were so focused on the other
you
word.
hear the first bleep and you just assume the other one got bleeped, and then finally we were like, wait a second. And then there was the time Interscope sent us this Slim Shady EP and the radio edit, so the whole album completely edited for radio, and whoever was in charge of editing it had no idea that you couldn't say shit on the radio. And so they left in every single one.
Oh, and that was a lot.
That was a lot. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh. Okay. Well, good times. But for all of you that's asked, that nothing's changed. We haven't changed the podcast. It was just lack of communication, because the people who edit, who do a wonderful job, and we thank them. Yes. By the way,
because they're listening, clearly, because they got to edit this.
There's so much stuff that they take out and make it sound good for you guys. You just don't even know.
Yes.
Peloton stock ticker.
Well, this is just becoming a weekly segment.
I know.
Yet another stock market high for Peloton.
I just felt like I had to say something. I mean, this is crazy. Up to $63 today. And it got up to, so far today, the highest it's gotten is 63.08, and it's just been going gangbusters. The next earnings call is August 12th. I am looking forward to hearing that. That is going to be great.
I think the whole earnings call is just going to be 45 minutes of John Foley giggling. It's my guess.
I think it's just going to be one mic drop right at the beginning, and then you're just going to hear. They're going to sound giddy. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
And they deserve it.
Yes.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
Joining us today via the magic of Skype-a-phone is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couple Therapy with Dr. Jen or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jen Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including Relationship Fix, Dr. Jen's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy, and, throwing this one in, a 5-year national team member of the Rhythmic Gymnastic and Sports Psychology for USA Gymnastics.
Woo!
How about all that?
Yeah, I've been a busy lady. What can I say?
Yeah. I don't know how you're finding time for us.
Well, because we share an obsession for Peloton.
I'm so glad we do.
Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Eric is getting very tired of me talking about my spin class and my run class, and Olivia did this and Maddie did that, and I had to talk to someone else who's on the bike.
Well, that's
I'm always ready to nag you to get on the bike.
Well, and that's a good lead into this week's topic, which is not to say that this is what's happening specifically, but what to do if your significant other is less than enthusiastic about your workout regimen or a jerk.
And when you say not so enthusiastic about your workout, are we talking about the kind of partner who is like, I wish you wouldn't work out, come sit on the couch with me and watch TV? Or like, hey, you know what, I love to do rowing, but I don't want you on your bike. Come row with me. Like,
we're talking about the one sitting on the couch.
Yeah, the first one. The one that's almost kind of actively or passively aggressively sabotaging your exercise efforts.
And what do we do with them?
I think in a situation like that, the first thing to do is to address that concern about the sabotage. To be able to say to your partner, hey, I love you and you love me, and my exercising is going to, all the studies show that it's going to make me live longer. And I feel like you're not supporting me doing something that is going to add longevity to my life. What's going on? You know, why might you be making that choice? And then the part two is also to ask the question, if your working out has changed something in the relationship, what is it? Is it, well, maybe now you're neglecting your partner because you're spending hours working out, and, you know, then you're talking with your friends who are working out like you and you're ignoring your partner? Or is your partner threatened that maybe you've gotten really fit and you're feeling really good about yourself and it's kind of changed the dynamics in the relationship? Like, what's going on in the dynamics of the relationship, and to look at both sides of it, to not just be like, he's a jerk, he's sabotaging me, but instead to say, okay, what shifted in our relationship that might not feel good to him or her? Or what might I be doing differently that might be bringing up things for him or her that might make him or her not want me to work out so much?
Wow. This is kind of bringing up a lot of stuff for me, because I had my ex-husband, actually, he was just kind of selfish. Like, he wanted my attention all the time. It was a very codependent relationship. And so, you know, I was a lot younger then, and I met him when I was super young. So I didn't really know how to extricate myself or make it healthier, you know? And so I don't really know how to add on to your question, but when you were talking, I was seeing my own experience, you know?
And I think that what you bring up is really important, because what happens in a relationship is that we have a lot of unspoken agreements. And it sounds like part of the unspoken agreement with you guys was that you give him this attention and this focus, and you neglect yourself. And that was probably something that you didn't think twice about then, because you were young, you didn't know better. It sounds like it was like your first big relationship, that you kind of went along with that. But at some point, you probably had a realization like, hey, my self-care is suffering. Hey, this doesn't feel good. Hey, this doesn't feel like a loving choice to myself or to the relationship. This feels like obligation. This feels probably controlling. And that in most relationships that last more than a year, that there ends up needing to be some renegotiation, spoken or unspoken, about the dynamics of the relationship. And when one person takes on, and, you know, I was on an Instagram where people were posting about like how Peloton has changed their lives, and how it's changed themselves, and how it's changed their energy and their this and their that. When you take on something that is become something that you're so passionate about, that takes time, whether you're working out 20 minutes a day, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, whatever it is, it causes a ripple effect. And part of that ripple effect is the relationship. And that when you add something to your life, whether it's Peloton or an art class or photography or training for a new career or working new hours at your job or a baby, like all of those things, even when they're good things, cause shifts in the relationship. And it means that you have to kind of renegotiate the dynamics of the relationship, and to be able to say like, hey, you know what? I hadn't really thought about it, but now that I'm working out an hour a day, it probably feels like a loss to you that you're not seeing me as much, or that I'm kind of my energy, I'm really kind of focused on this. And that must be really hard for you. And sometimes even just having empathy for your partner can help change the dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are still times to this day when you're apologetic to me.
It's true.
For going downstairs to hop on the bike or the tread, and I have to be like, well, that's fine. Like, why would I? You're
so
allowed.
True.
You're allowed to go do something by yourself. It's okay.
And I think that that's a great example. And we also do oftentimes take our history with us in our new relationship and make assumptions about how our partner is going to react or how we should be handling things. And it's important to have those conversations and to be able to say like, hey, Tom, sometimes I feel guilty when I go downstairs. Am I projecting? Like, is this like something I'm making up in my head, or is this something that you're really experiencing?
And then I would say, shh, I'm watching this. This is the best time to do it.
You want to
watching
those
TV.
75-minute rides. Go.
Yeah.
I think there are like 10 of them. Go. Do all of them.
Yeah. I'm watching The Godfather. Take all the time you need. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. And until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and even TikTok at Dr. Jen Man, DrJennMann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other connected fitness.
Little update from the world of Whoop.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So Whoop, for the first time, is going to have an ability to sync with Strava with your heart rate. Like, that's a big deal. So that's a whole lot of things working together. And Strava has their own issues. They ticked me off. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get into that. But this allows you to pull in your information. So if you do a lot of different activities, now you're going to be able to see your heart rate. Because, for example, right now, if I use Strava, I really only use Strava for the bike or the tread. Maybe if I do an outdoor kind of thing, that's it.
Right.
Because if I'm doing weightlifting, if I'm doing boxing, it doesn't integrate. So now Whoop will allow me to integrate my workout data with my heart rate in it, which, if you care about Strava at all, you would know that it has like this score that like keeps track of like what your heart rate did over the week. So this allows me to have it all in one place. Now, the problem is it also feeds in from Garmin. So there's going to be double digits. I'm going to have stuff coming in from Garmin and from Strava. So I've got to figure that out. But that's a whole different story. Anyway, it's cool. Just trust me, Tom. It's cool.
I take your word for it.
Okay. Shoo.
Hey, we have a contest going on.
We do.
Yeah.
This one's going fast. 3 weeks left.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's a short one. It's probably our shortest one.
It is our shortest one.
So you only got 3 more weeks, and it's your chance to win a Fight Camp personal gym.
And 1 whole year of membership.
So you're good for 365 days.
Yes. Everything you need shows up at your door.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. You just go to theclipout.com/fightcamp. And you answer a question. Every week that question changes, and you can typically find the answers either maybe in an old episode of The Clip Out where we talked about Fight Camp a little bit, or on their website or YouTube page. Who knows? It'll bounce around a little bit, but we'll give you hints too. And it's pretty simple. And then also while you're there, you have all sorts of opportunities for extra entries, whether it's going and liking Fight Camp on Facebook or Crystal on Instagram. Don't worry, I don't make you go to like any of my stuff. And but yeah, and you could win your own Fight Camp personal gym.
Yes, how exciting!
Especially when right now everybody's looking for something a little different.
Yeah.
Since everybody wants to build their home gym out because maybe you don't want to go to a real gym.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about Fight Camp is it comes to your door. You don't need a delivery person to come into your home and set it up. You can do it all yourself, and it's super easy. And I'm just going to go ahead and put out there, I did a video review on Fight Camp where I talk about the different ways you can fill up the base. So if you're not sure how you would do that, how it would fit into your home, go check that out. It's on our YouTube channel. And be nice, because it was my first video review.
And we can also drop a link to it in this week's newsletter.
I did last week.
Well, we'll do it this week too.
I'll do it again.
By we, I mean you.
Okay.
So if you, once again, want to enter the contest, theclipout.com/fightcamp. If you want to know even more about Fight Camp, go to joinfightcamp.com. So the super trendy Soul Cycle it's now letting you ride a bike in a tent.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a very fancy tent.
I don't see how a tent could be that fancy.
It's got a paisley print.
I don't know. I don't know what Soul Cycle is thinking. I'll be honest. This is a terrible idea. So they're opening a tent in the Hamptons, and they're very excited about it. And they're charging you $50 per bike to ride a bike in the hot sun.
Well, they might have one of those fancy air-conditioned tents. They have those. My guess, in fairness,
$50.
my guess is they probably have a fancy air-conditioned tent because it is the Hamptons.
$50.
Well, if you can go to the Hamptons, $50 is.
And if you want to reserve it 2 weeks before the class.
Yeah.
$65.
So instead of an early bird discount, there's an early bird upcharge?
Uh-huh.
That's different.
Yeah. I think everything about this is a terrible idea.
What's it normally cost to ride a Soul Cycle? I have no idea.
I have no
Clearly.
idea. That could be perfect for the Hamptons for all I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be normal. But it's just like people talk about how Peloton or Tonal or any of these connected fitness that you do at home are so expensive and inaccessible. And then they charge $50 for one freaking ride.
Yeah.
And nobody says anything about that.
Right.
What is happening? I just can't believe that. Like $50 covers everything you need for an entire month of Peloton.
Yeah. And you don't have to pay extra if you buy your bike early.
Right.
Cool news from Tunde.
I am so stoked about this. Okay, so this article is all about her beauty routine.
Okay.
And there's tons of makeup tips in here, which people are super excited about. But yada, 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 I don't care because Tunde is dropping a new lipstick line. OMG. I am so incredibly stoked about this. She has the most amazing lip colors. You remember when we interviewed her and she was like, oh, there's like 50 things on there? You remember when she was talking about that? I can't wait to see this lipstick line. And I reached out to her. She said it's going to be a little bit before it goes live. So for everyone who's asked me, I don't know. But I will tell you when I know. Like, when have I ever held back, guys? I tell you things.
Well, you held back in that you go and buy your stuff first. And and then you tell people.
But I tell them.
So
as soon as I'm done shopping,
as soon as you find out, they will know shortly thereafter.
It doesn't take me long to shop.
About $200 later. That's how long it'll take.
That's like 30 seconds, guys. It's okay.
Peloton has a new artist series.
They do.
Around the Grateful Dead.
Yep.
I love my classic rock, and I got to tell you, I hate the Grateful Dead.
They do nothing for me.
Not a thing.
Not a thing for me either. Like, I cannot stand the Grateful Dead. I find them annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just like, no, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I love classic rock.
Yeah.
But this one just doesn't do it for me. But
obviously lots of people love the Grateful Dead.
Oh my God. There's so many super fans of the Grateful Dead. And I know Jen Sherman is one of them. She's talked about the Grateful Dead and how much she loves them. And she is going to be doing a ride. It actually takes place today. We're recording on Wednesday, July 8th, and it will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Andy Spear is doing a run on July 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and Kristen McGee is doing a flow on Wednesday, July 9th at 6 p.m.
And in honor of the Grateful Dead, they will be doing all of these classes entirely on acid. So
No, they won't. No.
They're not going to do that?
No. And I just realized that it says the yoga flow will be on Wednesday, July 9th. And so I'm pretty sure they mean Thursday, July 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Gotcha. Whoops.
Yeah.
We all do it.
That was me copying and pasting.
Yeah.
So that's on them. But no, there's no acid, Tom. No acid.
Well, okay. In fairness,
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know for
I didn't
a fact
give them a pee test.
that there's no acid.
But they're very healthy people. Let's just say that.
True.
So we don't know that they are.
Right. But we don't know that they aren't.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I know that people are super excited about this, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Working Men's Dead. So you guys enjoy. I'm sitting this one out.
And I believe the boutique just added some patchouli for
also not a thing.
Not a thing.
And they didn't add any acid either, Dom.
Hey, so before we get to this week's interview, we should probably do a little housekeeping here.
Yes, I think that we should. Ty reached out to us this week and let us know that they have changed the name from Tour de Peloton to simply The Tour. I guess Peloton reached out to them and asked them to change their name because they didn't
they were using Peloton in their name.
Yeah.
Like it's. So we just wanted to point that out, that they have changed their name. So if you go looking for them, it has a different name. And if someone from Peloton happens to be listening, this interview was recorded like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're not being jerks.
Not at all. In fact, Ty went out of his way to say how wonderful Peloton was to work with throughout this process. They were top notch. They were very professional. He had nothing negative to say about Peloton. So I don't want anyone thinking that this is like him complaining or anything
Right.
like that. He had nothing but wonderful things to say. So as I say later on, good luck to all of you doing the tours and enjoy it. Like it's a cool thing to do. And Ty seems to be a really top-notch person. I really like how he runs his group, and I think it's really cool how he's handled everything.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of Skypeophone is Ty Audronis. How's it going, Ty?
It's going pretty good. How about you guys?
Okay, I reckon.
Can't complain.
Well, we can.
I mean, yeah, I could.
I mean,
I've always
is that
got
a challenge?
complaints.
I can totally complain.
Well, there's lots of good things too. So I was trying to focus on the positive, Tom. Way to bring it down.
Complaining's kind of my jam.
So anyway, Ty, about you. How did you originally find Peloton?
Well, Christmas 2017, my then wife and I were walking through the Houston Galleria and actually looking at Teslas, and right next door was the Peloton store. And she begged me to get her a Peloton for Christmas. So I did. And I made her a deal. I said, okay, but if this thing ends up with clothes hanging on it, we're selling it.
Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
About 2 weeks later, it had clothes hanging on it, and I decided to try it, and I kind of liked it.
So she didn't write it? She didn't like it?
She didn't like it, and I got it in the divorce.
Well, hey, who knew that would be such a pivotal moment?
Right? In so many ways. So many ways.
I'm sure. We've Tom and I each have our own stories.
Yes.
About purchases leading up to divorces. But anyway, okay, so that was in 2017. So, and you've been writing the whole time. So once you got on, you never looked back. You've been all in?
Well, that's not entirely true. I started writing, like I tried it and I liked it. And so I would write once a week or once every couple weeks up until I think it was February of 2018. I started hanging out with a bunch of writers online, and so the peer pressure got to me, and I started writing more.
Okay.
But we talk about that all the time, though, about how like the community, counterintuitively, because you bought a bike so you didn't have to go hang out with people, but it can kind of pull you in a way that you didn't anticipate. Yeah,
and it's the most positive peer pressure. And if you're going to have peer pressure, to be healthy is a good peer pressure to have.
Oh, I completely agree. I had just written my 4th book. And I like to say I had body by author at the time.
Gotcha. Okay.
And once I started seriously writing, I lost 60 pounds in 6 months.
Wow.
Just on the Peloton.
Wow. Did you change your diet during that time period too?
I did. I did a diet that I like to call OMAD OBAD, which is 1 meal a day and 1 bottle a day of wine.
Got it. Okay.
I'm serious. The Pelo Winos group knows all about it. I did it for several months.
Wow. So you only ate 1 meal a day?
Yeah, I mean, there were snacks. I would eat like hard-boiled eggs.
Okay.
But, I'm also type 1 diabetic, so I couldn't go full keto.
Yeah.
Because that would kill me.
Right. We don't want that. No, that's bad.
Yeah, keto for type 1 diabetic is really bad. And that's actually kind of what got me really riding was I noticed, I started looking through the instructors and noticed Robin also has type 1 diabetes. I noticed because of the little sugar sensor on her arm. I have one too.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. One of the listeners that we chat with quite often, Eric Goodman, has one as well. So you have the exact same kind, the little port?
I don't have the same kind. Mine is, I don't know if I should mention the company name, but it's part of my insulin pump. Okay. So I actually wear a pump that gives me an insulin drip.
Okay. Gotcha. I find those little gizmos pretty fascinating. So I'm kind of a nerd about it, but okay. So your fitness level with Peloton completely changed then. You went from one end of the spectrum to the other, it sounds like.
Kind of, sort of. I did my 100th ride, I'd say about 9 months ago. Okay. And I just did my 600th ride.
Yeah, so where's the sort of? Where's the sort of part? I don't. Sounds like you're all in, man.
Yeah, I am. The tours definitely help with that.
Okay. And just for people who may not know what the tour is, what is the Tour de Peloton? How did it come about?
Okay, so the tour is pretty simple. We have several tours, but the original is all 23 instructors, any ride you want from all instructors. Now, the app people don't have access to change their language options. So in their case, they're doing 22 instructors, but that turns out to be a little longer because Irene's English ride, her shortest is 30 minutes.
Okay. Now, does that number include past instructors that are no longer, or is that current instructors?
That's every instructor they have to offer right now, including JJ and Stephen Little and Christian.
Okay. Yes. And that's obviously on the bike. That's all bike instructors.
Yeah, all bike instructors, although we are going to be doing, I've teased it out a little bit inside of Olivia's group and inside of our group. There's a variation. I don't know if you've seen our logo, but our logo has a person on a bike. Well, the new tour is going to be a Tour de Tread, and it's a person running on the tread.
Awesome. Okay, so why? What inspired this?
Okay, buckle up.
Okay.
So I told you that I am no longer married. About a year ago, well, a little over a year ago, on Valentine's Day, I came home to find my wife gone, and my house looked like it had been ransacked. Oh. All the bank accounts, including the 401k, were emptied.
Oh.
Yikes.
And on top of that, I had moved out to Texas from California. I was in the film industry and pretty much all entertainment. You know, I'm a musician, all kinds of stuff. And I moved out to Texas for her career. There's really no film industry in Texas.
Right.
So I was stranded.
Yeah.
Completely stranded. The last year has been really, really rough. Couldn't find work. Couldn't even get entry-level jobs because my resume, you know, let's face it, you know, people in Texas don't like Hollywood people. And I'm pretty much typical Hollywood. So I could not find a job at all. So February 28th, my dad had a stroke on top of all of it, you know, with all this COVID stuff, and I couldn't go see him. It was really severe. He got life flighted between two hospitals. They didn't expect that he'd make it. And so March 4th, my mom's birthday, I was kind of despondent. I didn't think I would actually survive doing the tour, but I said, you know what? I haven't really tried every instructor. I didn't ride Cody. You know, I only used Christine for warm-ups and cool-downs. I'm going to give every single instructor a shot. And so I had budgeted 2 hours to do all 23 instructors. And then I'm going through and I'm like, wait a minute. This instructor doesn't have any 5-minute classes. This one's shortest is at 30. So it took me about 3 hours to get it all done. And I didn't think anybody would want to do it. Quite frankly, I thought everybody would make fun of me and say, well, 5-minute rides aren't really rides. Because there's a lot of that going on out there.
There is a lot of that.
Yeah.
But this is a little different.
Yeah, this is different.
Like it's designed to be a longer thing that's a collection of 5-minute rides. Like or short, you know, maybe not all 5 minutes, but still like that it
has a larger purpose. You're not doing a 5-minute ride and calling it your exercise for the day. Although there are people that do that and have valid reasons for doing so. So I'm not shaming them either. But that's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, it's not what I'm doing. And granted, there have been days in my past where I've only had 5 minutes to spare, so I'm glad those counted as rides.
Absolutely.
You know, if Peloton didn't want them to count as rides, they wouldn't count them as rides. And my opinion is anybody that thinks they shouldn't, they're free to go invent their own bike.
Amen to that.
Just don't copy it because they'll sue you.
I like to call it the dim sum of rides. You know,
That's great. That's very appropriate.
So yeah, I finished that thing up and I posted it in a couple of groups, and a woman named Brittany Logan, or I think that's her last name, Brittany rode right away. She and I have been like in the same circle of people for a couple of years, and she loved it. And then Jill Lynn Federici, she jumped on and she did it and she raved about it. And let's face it, I don't know if you guys know who Jill is, but she is an animal. She just did her 2000th ride.
Wow.
And I cannot keep up with that woman. Not even close. And she is an animal on the bike. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, do you want to start a group? And so we started the group.
Okay, so let me get this straight. That was in March of 2020. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was March 14th.
So how many people do you have in your group today?
Today, well, last night we crossed 11,000. We're averaging about 100 new additions a day now. It's starting to taper.
Congratulations.
Do you have any tips?
Well, lots actually, but it's a lot of work right now. It's pretty much my full-time job. We started the group, and my best friend, Jennifer Barker, she joined in with the admins, and so did Larry Meter. And I'm sure a lot of people out there know Larry.
Yeah, I recognize his name.
Yeah, Ad Dad is his leaderboard name. And, I think he's like the only guy in one of the moms groups. He's like an honorary mom.
Okay.
Like everybody loves this guy. So, Jennifer, she found out that I was having even worse financial trouble, and she posted to the group, hey, let's help this guy out. And so everybody did. And she raised like $6,000 pretty quickly.
Wow. That's fantastic.
That got me all caught up on my bills. And I was providing T-shirts. I thought this group was going to be like maybe 10 or 15 people. So the first version of swag that we did was like a picture of all the instructors, and it said Tour de Peloton. And we figured we'd all have these T-shirts, be 10 or 15 people. Peloton wouldn't do anything about that. It's just a fan group.
Right.
Well, we hit 1,000 our first weekend.
Whoops. Now you got somebody's attention.
Yeah. Well, immediately I took that swag off the store. And I was like, no way. I wasn't making any profit off it, just to be perfectly clear. I wasn't making any profit. And everybody started getting really on me. It was like, hey, you're not making any money. You're barely able to pay your bills. Make a profit off this stuff. So I make no bones about it. The swag, I do make a profit off. That's what pays my bills. And if people want to know why, one of the reasons why the group is successful, there's a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons we're able to run it successfully is it's my full-time job.
Yeah, you've turned it into, it's like growing on itself because you keep putting more into it, more resources into it.
Yeah, exactly. We have a website now. We come out with a new clothing line every week or two. We're going to put medals up in our store tonight. So people, instead of just these badges that you see on everybody's like avatar, now they're actually going to be able to get medals like you would get from, your 5K or whatever.
I love that. That is refreshing, Ty. I got to tell you, because there are a lot of groups that are out there. I'm not going to pick on anybody in particular, but there's a lot of groups that they're not 100% clear about what they're doing with that money, why they're doing what they're doing with that money, etc. And I find that very refreshing.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
just like, hey, I'm making a living off this. Good for you. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
I support that 1,000,000%. That's great.
Well, I was very critical of one of those groups. I think we're both talking about the same people. I was very, very critical openly about those groups. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very open about where the money goes. And I was completely against making any sort of profit until everybody in the group pressured me to. So I don't make a ton off of each item, and everybody is really great about ordering stuff, and we just make some really, really awesome gear. I have a big background in design. I worked for Frog Design during the .coms. They were one of the top industrial design firms in the world. And so we designed some really killer gear.
Well, that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's nothing wrong with making money off of it. I think where people get a little squeamish is just not knowing the details behind it. I have a question. I know this comes up all the time for Peloton, any groups that are associated with Peloton. Are you using the Peloton logo, or are you using like just your own designs that have nothing to do with the Peloton logo?
We are completely our own design. We noticed that Peloton's logo, that P is one problem, right?
Yeah.
But additionally, they have their logo to where they're all block text.
Right.
And all caps. So we steered completely away from that. We went with script font. We went with a very abstract sort of logo that has, a man riding the bike, but it's very, very abstract, very European looking. It's nowhere near anything that looks like Peloton. And in case anybody's ever concerned about using the word Peloton, Peloton just means group.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
So
again, completely refreshing.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea how much, like that gives me so much comfort having this conversation with you, because there are a lot of groups that, they get a little, they cross some lines.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. I know it's hard because there's so much demand to have instructor quotes or have that Peloton pee on everything, or, to
Sorry.
Tom's also a 14-year-old boy.
Yes.
But there's a lot of demand for it. So it's easy to go there. It's really easy. And so my props to you for steering clear of that and understanding why that needs to be kept separate.
Totally.
Well, frankly, I told you where I used to work, and if I ever moved back to California, I would never work again if I got caught up in some copyright infringement stuff. So
Fair point.
I've been very, very careful about that.
I understand your point, and I'm glad that there's a good reason behind all the things you're doing, but also just in general, because I love the brand Peloton so much. I personally I cannot say enough good things about how you're handling it. Like, awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know if you've noticed in our logo, but there's a couple of really interesting things if people look at it closely. It also says, "You are Peloton," and it also says, "Our Peloton."
Really?
So, yeah, if you look at it very closely, the U and the R in Tour are much larger than the O, and the OUR is underlined in red.
Neat.
Oh, that's cool.
Very, very clever. That's great. I am a little oblivious to things like that, and it kind of irritates Tom because he picks up on stuff like that all the time. And he has not seen your graphics, but I bet you he would have noticed that right off the bat.
Probably.
Me, not so much. I'm completely dense.
My mom used to own a printing company, and she would buy the paper from a company called Expedex, and she was shopping with them for, years. Spending tens of thousands of dollars on paper, right? It's a printing company. And the one day I was like, "Oh, cool. Their logo, it reads the same way upside down." And she's just like, "What?"
That would be me.
Yeah.
Well, I fell in love with design, especially on logos, and doing funny things with text to put hidden meanings in it, when I first saw the cover for the Escape album by Journey.
Yeah, how they use the numbers?
Well, yeah, it looks like there's just this weird, abstract thing that looks like numbers on it, but if you turn it sideways, it actually says Journey.
Yeah. And then if you're going to go with, cool rock band logos, you're going on the classic rock road now, that's my wheelhouse. So the Dio logo, if you read it right, says devil.
Oh.
That's kind of cool. And then in the same, if you like the devil, and who doesn't? But also, hey, when you're 14,
right? I'm with you.
You want some metal? You want that logo to say the devil,
right?
But there's also a not very well known band that was signed to Kiss's record label Casablanca called Angel. Had a big song, great song called The Tower. But their logo, not unlike Expedex, it's Angel, but it reads upside down the same way. And imagine the thought that has to go into making the word angel,
especially a G. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Now I got to go look that up.
It's
because
pretty cool.
I'm curious about that.
Pretty cool.
I have a tattoo like that, actually.
Do you really? What does it say?
When I was in the Navy, I went and got a tattoo in Tijuana. And
it's kind of a rite of passage.
Life right side up and death right upside down. Well, at least it did. Now it just kind of says.
Time will do that.
Yes.
That's funny. Oh, that is so cool.
Well, I guess there are worse things you can get in Tijuana.
Yeah.
Like gonorrhea, stabbed.
Okay, so
arrested.
We get it.
It's a rule of threes. Got to have a third one.
Okay. Well, is this keeping you afloat at this? Is it working to keep you afloat at this time? Is that a good system for you?
I am just able to pay my bills right now. So hopefully at some point, because, I'm not the only one doing this. Jill and Larry and Jennifer, they're all working their butts off. In fact, I do want to talk a little bit about Jill's tour of instructors in a bit. But at some point, I would like to be making enough to kick down some cash to the moderators, Michael Garzone and Kelly Harper, as well as Jill, Larry, and Jen, because they are really working their butts off. I couldn't do it without them.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a wise road to go down to make sure everybody's getting paid. And obviously fair. You seem like a very fair person. That really means a lot to me. I like fair people. That's a big thing for me. So I know that there's a ton of different tours, like all kinds. So do you want to talk about those at all?
Yeah, so we've got the original tour, which I talked about. And we've got the Tour de Peloton, which is the same thing as the regular tour, except you can't take any rides that are less than 10 minutes. But your ride list is still completely up to you as long as you do every single instructor.
Oh, see, I thought that might have been an homage to our first 4 episodes where we were saying the name wrong.
No, I think we said something very different. I don't even know what we said anymore.
No, I think we were saying Peloton.
Peloton.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really?
In our defense, this was before there were stores or online or ads on TV.
There was no media blitz, so we had never heard it said.
And keep in mind, we live in St. Louis, Missouri.
Right.
So, like, it's not like we saw this or heard this and we lived in New York City and walking down the street and, you know, we went into the studio. So
like, it's only been within the last 6 months that you don't really have to explain what it is to people around here.
Yeah, that's between 6 months and a year at this point, I think, because the store has been open here in St. Louis for a year now.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit long, but it relatively recently before people around here kind of caught up.
Yeah. We're a little slower in the Midwest.
Yes.
And you're in Texas. You should know that.
We're still wearing acid wash jeans.
We have 3 Peloton stores within driving distance of me.
Yeah, we don't. It took forever to get ours. So
yeah.
you're in a different area.
Yeah.
Yeah, gas and oil out here, so lots of money.
Yeah.
So after the Pelotons, we have the Tour de Instructors. And so we have 23 different rides or 23 different tours. And each of those tours gives you a star on the badge, or if you're going the medal route, it gives you a dog tag. And once you complete all 23, you can buy the big medal. And so each of those is a very specific list of classes, and there's a reason behind it. And it's really Jill's baby. So each one of the instructor tours has in it at its peak, because they're formed like a pyramid ride or a ladder, some people call it, where it's like a 5, 10, 20, a 30, then, back down. But the middle one is always a music artist series. You can get your artist series badge for riding that ride. The one I did today was Jen Sherman's Billy Joel ride. So there's always that in it. There's always a little bit of a flavor of climb, some intervals, a warm up, a cool down. They're not really structured just as a ladder with random rides. We structure them very specifically because we want to give you the accurate flavor of that instructor, right? Yeah. And that goes back to when I originally did the first tour, which was I wanted to experience every instructor.
Right. Well, so why, when you say that Jill chooses specific classes, what is her thought process beyond time and the music? Is there other rhyme or reason to the classes why they're chosen? Is it a special ride to her, or is it because it has a certain endurance to it, or something else completely?
Yes. Yes, all of the above. So, some of them are rides that are very typical of that instructor. I can't talk about that one because it's not released yet. Robin is probably the toughest one we've done so far, but I believe it's been weeks since I did the Robin one, but I believe there's a Together We Go Far in there. You get a real accurate feel for the instructor. So all the different types of rides they do. When we did Christine, for instance, we had her pink ride in there, and she's dressed like some vampire chick. And I think that's my favorite ride I've ever taken. I'm so glad that she chose that ride, because just to be perfectly honest, Christine wasn't my thing. I loved her for warm up and cool down, but she was always kind of meh. I had respect for her because she's one of the only 2 instructors that's an actual cyclist.
Right.
But, it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, you just didn't click.
But riding that pink ride, oh my gosh, I love Christine now. She's great.
Well, that's fabulous. Right there is the best reason of all to.
Yeah, it's
to
a great example of why you're doing what you do.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the instructors are starting to notice too. Several of them have commented on our posts on Instagram, and at one point, one of them, I don't really want to call out any names. At one point, one of them actually mentioned us in one of their posts. So it's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And here's a question: do you guys track like the popularity of each tour? Like, do you know which is the most popular, which is not as popular?
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm a total nerd.
No.
So we actually have a registration form so that we can verify who's ridden the rides, and we do spot check to make sure that people aren't taking breaks, because that's one of our things is you're not allowed to take breaks between each individual class. When you start on a tour, you go straight through to the end.
Dude, you are just, my respect for you is going up every time you talk. I am so impressed with you. That's amazing. Seriously, it's those little things. I just really appreciate that about people.
Absolutely. I think that's great that there's like some sort of I don't know, for lack of a better, quality control.
Yeah.
To make sure people are actually doing the things that they're supposed to do. And it's not just to sure, we'll sell you a medal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, we actually check, and we even check for duplicate entries, and we spot check their rides. We've had to throw out a couple of people for gaming the system. Our big thing is we don't care if you're following the letter of our rules. You have to follow the spirit of them.
Okay. That's fair.
And so, if people try to get through on technicalities or whatever, we're like, yeah, neat, bye. Now, that being said, out of our 11,000 people, we've only thrown out a handful.
Right, because
people are really generally good.
Yeah,
but here's some of our statistics if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. I love statistics.
As of this moment, which is 5:49 p.m. on the 21st of May, we have 4,563 total number of tours that have been logged. Which means there have been 66,014 classes taken on the Peloton platform.
Wow.
Using our tours. 38.2% of those are standard tours. 4.7% are Pelotons. Robin accounts for 6.2%. Cody accounts for 15.3%. Tunde is 5.7%. Leanne is 3.9. JJ is 5.6. Alex is 6.0. Hannah Frankson is 2.5. Christine is 4.5. Stephen Little is 2.5. And Olivia is 3.3. And Jen Sherman is 1.42. Those are all of them that we've released so far of our instructor tours.
Wow. That's fabulous. That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That really
and all of our members can actually look at these stats at any given time because they're up on the website.
Oh my God, you're speaking my language. I love this so much.
Well, we just use a Google form to register everybody, and then, using my Excel nerdiness, we just programmed all the pie graphs and stuff.
That's cool. That's really cool. Wow. Okay, Tom, ask him some questions. I've been hogging all the questions.
It's not the question I have isn't about this, so I don't want to get us off track yet.
Okay.
If you're not done.
Well, I'm curious about I guess we'll keep going, and then you can change gears. Tell me about the badges and the dog tags then.
Okay, so we've got kind of three things going on. The badges are graphics that people can put up on their avatar on Facebook or on their profile picture on their Peloton, and at first, we were photoshopping those on for everybody. And then one weekend, we got a total of 400 rides each day. And we're capable of doing about 50 that way. So we're like, no, this can't work anymore. So we came up with the idea of doing it using the Facebook frames architecture.
Nice.
So we created Facebook frames that people can, just keep piling on the stars or doing whatever. And we use an honor system, much like the military. I don't know how much you guys know, but if you're in the military, you can walk into a uniform shop on base and you can buy any medal you want.
Oh.
But if you're caught wearing that thing and you didn't earn it,
your career is over. Yeah.
Yeah, you're done. Stolen valor is a really big deal. And,
sure.
And so, we also spot check every once in a while. You know, if I'm out there and I see somebody's wearing badges and I don't remember seeing them in the spreadsheet, I'll check the spreadsheet. Had one the other day and the lady was like, oh yeah, I didn't really know what it meant. So I gave her a chance and said, hey, fix it, please. But in general, if we catch somebody doing that, then they'll be out. And so for that reason, nobody really has been bad in our group. We haven't had any of the normal growing pains of trolls or anything like that. We clean people out pretty quickly that show the signs, and there really aren't many of them. People just seem to really genuinely like the tour.
Well, that's good. And it'll probably becomes kind of self-policing that, you know, you're spot checking, but I bet you enough people now are seeing it that if they see somebody that they're skeptical of, they'll probably do a little checking on their own.
Yeah, that's true.
And the spreadsheet is there for everybody to see.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so that's one piece of it.
Yeah, I like the system.
So that's the badges. And then what else?
That's the badges. Oh, yeah, sorry, the medals. So one of the things that we used to do with badges was we would put, when we were photoshopping, we'd put like a little ×3 or ×4 on whichever kind of ride that they did. But, you know, some of these people that really had nothing better to do. They were riding a tour a day. And we just can't do that using the Facebook Frames architecture. So what we're going to allow is if they, say, rode 4 regular tours, they can buy 4 regular medals. A really interesting thing also is if you do the Tour de Pelotons, because that's the same thing as the original, but harder and longer. So it actually counts as part of, or as an original also. So that gives you another original. It's one of the questions we get a lot when people are doing their badges using the frames. They're like, hey, why can't I just do a 10s? Why does it also give me the original? People are really honest in our group. And it's like, because you earned an original too.
Aw, that's nice. That's nice that people ask too and that they care. That's great. I forgot to ask this when you were talking about the tours, especially the ones that Jill has designed because they're so instructor specific. What happens when Peloton deletes classes? Because that happens fairly regularly.
Oh, that threw a big wrench into our system with JJ because they purged JJ. And so we had to switch our order. We rushed JJ to the front of the line and got her out there because we didn't know if they were just going to stop at 71 rides for her because that's all that she has right now, or if they were going to continue and erase her from existence because there's a lot of rumors out there on how she left. So we have no idea what's going to happen. So we rushed to get her out there and we had to change the ride list because several of the rides that Jill had outlined were no longer there. And with the thing in mind that if they delete JJ, then that's going to become a limited edition star.
That's pretty cool.
That's making lemonade right there.
Yeah.
Limited edition.
Yeah. It can tell.
I mean, if they eliminate any of the rides on her current deal, I don't really want to announce publicly how we're going to handle that, but we will handle it and we'll be very fair about it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Based on what we've heard, there's no reason to think that they wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've been very consistently fair.
Yeah. So I had a question. You said you've written 4 books. Like, what sort of books do you write?
They're not fiction. The first book I wrote was on doing 3D animation using a plugin called Element 3D. Then the second book I wrote was on designing drones for shooting for cinema because I'm also on the advisory board for the Society of Aerial Cinematography.
Oh.
Nice.
And then the third book I wrote was on doing video games using a system called BuildBox. And then the final book I wrote was also a drone book, and it was about building purpose-built drones. And not all of them are like aerial. Like one of them in the book is a duck decoy I built that autonomously goes around a pond and avoids obstacles. And another one was like a golf trolley that follows you around the golf course, that kind of stuff.
You don't sit still much, do you?
No. So I've had this philosophy in my life throughout my whole life that is a day that I haven't learned something is a day I haven't lived.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's like I'm a big movie nerd, so I think it's fascinating how much drones have changed how movies and television looks. Like you can't watch even there are so many shots that before they cost thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, that now you can get for, a few $100. And you see, like, you can't watch an episode of Dateline without seeing a drone shot.
It's true.
Every time they're like, this sleepy village.
Your average drone pilot, I think, costs $500 to $700 a day. I'm a bit more expensive than that, but your average one is like $500 to $700 a day, and that's for the whole day, right?
Wow.
With all his own gear and everything. You hire a helicopter,
right?
You're hiring the helicopter, and that is about $5,000 an hour, and that includes the time it takes them to fly out there. And then they're sitting on the ground. That's $5,000.
Yeah.
And then if you want to rent the little mount for the front of the helicopter, it's called a space cam. That's $1 million deposit.
Yeah.
So,
and
it gets very expensive.
And a lot of those helicopter shots don't even look very good. Like, if you watch the opening scene of The Shining, there's a great shot where they're driving up the mountain, and it's a helicopter shot, and it's Stanley Kubrick. So, like, the guy knows how to make a movie, right? But it's the limitations of the technology. Like, you can still tell he's in a helicopter just because they couldn't completely get rid of that vibration. I'm sure they can now, but in 1980 when that movie came out, they couldn't. And so watching it with a modern day eye, like, it looks really shaky, which is unusual because, he's like one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So,
well, here's a little bit of ironic trivia for you. Ironically, that movie made the Steadicam famous.
I thought it was Rocky, because I thought it was the running up the steps in Rocky was the first, like, real mainstream.
No, going in through the window with the Steadicam on The Shining was like way bigger deal. It wasn't the invention of the Steadicam, but it made it really famous and more mainstream. And then also that same shot you're talking about driving through the hills.
Yeah,
that's used on one of the many, many releases of Blade Runner at the end.
Oh, is that the when like the unicorn shot, like, as they're
driving with the top down on a convertible through the hills. It's the same exact shot, the same exact piece of film.
Wow, I'm surprised he let him do that. Like, because in 2001, he destroyed the sets so they couldn't repurpose them for other science fiction movies. So I'm surprised that he didn't have a way to stop them from doing that.
He may have directed and produced it, but, the studio owns the copyrights.
I guess
otherwise you wouldn't have Ready Player One.
Yeah. And I guess that's why he destroyed it. Like, the sets from 2001, so he didn't have to deal with that. We got on film nerd stuff.
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's fine. And I think it's great. Okay, so what else about the group do we not know? What do you want to make sure that everybody who happens to listen knows about Tour de Peloton?
Okay, so Tour de Peloton, you're going to hear a bunch of groups say this, but we really mean it. Not that they don't, but we try to keep everything positive in our group. You're allowed to express your opinions just as long as you don't, bash instructors or the Peloton brand or each other. It's a really cool place to be. We try to police it to be what we all wish the rest of the Peloton social media was like. Perfect.
I love that. That's great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've spent a lot of time in the OPP. And
So,
did I miss it? Have you said what your leaderboard name is?
No.
I have not. It is Ty You Up, spelled TY_U_UP.
Is there a story we should know about?
Well, his first name is...
I run a few different groups. No, it's not like that. I don't run the Red Room or anything like that. Anyway, so I run a few different groups. I let one of these groups vote on my name, and believe me, that was the least bad of all the options.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably not what your parents had in mind when they named you, but
it's funny though. So my legal name is actually Tiris.
Okay.
Not Tyler or anything like that. It's actually Tiris, and it means seeker of truth. And my last name means violent death storm. So I tell everybody, don't lie to me.
You are not messing around. Well, at least you're fair to other people. So really, they have no reason to mess with you.
See, those are the people, though, that get like, they're fair, but when they feel like you've been unfair, it's on like Donkey Kong.
I've gotten kind of a bad rap because one of the groups that I run, some of the people that were in that group went a little overboard, shall we say, in OPP. And because I was the face of the group, I kind of got a bad rap. But I really do try to be fair above all else. And that's really one of the mottos in my life. And it really made me smile to hear you say that I sounded fair. That's what I try to do, you know, so.
Okay, I'm curious what group gave you a bad rap?
The name is different now, so I think I can say what the old name was.
Okay.
Because one of our we run it like Fight Club, you know. You don't talk about it. But the old name was Pelo Underground.
Okay. Yes or no question. I don't want to get you in trouble. Was it also called Peloton After Dark?
No. That's another group. I do know the people in that group. Several of my friends are in that group. And it's very much like After Dark. And it is also not Peloton Underground. It was Pelo Underground. We didn't even know Peloton Underground, or some people call it Pug. We didn't even know that existed when we changed our name to Pelo Underground. We were just trying to find an easy domain name.
Oh,
you know?
Okay. All right. So which would you say is your favorite instructor at this point, since you've ridden with so many?
That's really tough, you know, because when I went to New York, I've done the New York studio twice with Jess King, and I love her to death. I really do. But I have to tell you, my favorite is Leanne.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
a lot of people, she is not their favorite because they say she talks too much or they don't like her voice. I love her voice.
She's got a great voice.
I love how positive she is. And come on, she is gorgeous.
Well, you know, she's taken now, so.
I know. So that brings me to my least favorite instructor. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, good. But I know what you mean. I mean, all the instructors are very attractive. We're very lucky that we get to watch those instructors. So that's definitely true.
Quite frankly, I'm so surprised that they're so good on the bike because they're all dancers.
I know.
There's no actual cyclists.
It's the rhythm.
Yeah, it's got to be the rhythm, you know. And there's something about riding in the studio because, so I did my 300 ride in December with Jennifer in studio, and that was for Jess King's 2000s ride. And doing that same ride at home, I don't really do as well as I did in the studio. When you're in studio, there's a whole different vibe.
Well, there's a theory, too, that some instructors are really good at speaking to the camera and people at home. And some instructors are really good at speaking to the room. And I think all instructors have both of those abilities in general. But some of them are super great at talking to the group in the room. And some of those are super great at talking to the people at home. And so there can be a different vibe. And of course, when it's any kind of special event happening, the studio is just lit up with energy. I mean, you can feel that energy at home, during some special events. So being there in studio does change it just from the vibe standpoint.
I could feel it sitting in the lobby.
Have you guys noticed the difference in the studio because of Brad?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so you guys know who Brad is, the guy that dresses in the crazy outfits. And
we interviewed him.
We've had him on.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Oh, really? Okay. So after he became a thing, so I've ridden in the studio before Brad, or let's call it BB and AB.
Okay.
Before Brad and after Brad. So they've turned down the lights on the people that are in the gallery.
Ah, yeah, there's not as much of a spotlight anymore.
Yeah, you can't really tell definition. I look at me on that 2000s ride and I am right up in front in the Brad spot, so to speak, and you can't really tell it's me. Whereas on the old ride that I did a year before that, you could totally tell it was me, and I wasn't even close to that area.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what the new studio. Yeah, I wonder what the new studio will be like because it has such a different feel in general, like the lighting and everything. So I'm curious what that'll look like when we eventually get to see people in it.
That was a bummer for me because the day of my 500 is when they shut that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all set to take Robin's ride, and they shut it down. And I was like, no, not on 500.
They might have saved your life.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, how dare they, make me inconvenienced on my 500?
Yeah, well, I have it worse than you because I only get to go once a year, and now I don't get to go at all. So,
I hope they reopen it. I really do. I hope the new normal isn't like no live rides at all.
Well, did you see the announcement today that they're going to be starting up rides in the studio again? They're not going to, it's going to be closed still, but on May 26th, they're going to keep doing some live at home, but also start filming in the studio again.
Oh, I love the set. I mean, the lighting in there is spectacular. The camera angles are perfect. I love the new low camera angle.
Yeah, I do too.
That's always like a risk because you're worried about being lewd or whatever, but it's at the perfect angle to where like you're not doing an upskirt shot. You're doing like this quarter angle. It's tasteful. It's perfect.
There are still people that complain. But
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's always someone that will complain.
Absolutely. I mean, it does not matter what you do, that somebody has a differing opinion. But I mean, I've heard mostly positive things about it. But when it first flipped over, there were people that I think were just, it was such a big change that, it took a little bit of adjustment for them. So.
Oh, no, I rode Robin's Together We Go Far, the first one in the new studio, and I was like, this is badass. I love it. Oh, sorry for my French.
Oh, you're fine.
That's fine.
So do you have any advice for people just starting out?
Starting out on the Peloton or trying to start a group?
Starting out on the Peloton.
Yes. Do not be afraid to try new things. We've had several people in the tour that just bought their bike and it just got delivered and they jumped right in and did it. So I think that like it's all in your mind. Don't be afraid to try harder rides. Don't be afraid to push yourself. You're not going to like it at first. You're not going to, your body is going to say, I don't want to do this bicycle thing anymore. Just push past that and you will fall in love with it. You're going to love it, and make sure you eat right and make sure you stay hydrated.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely great advice.
Awesome. Well, I guess before we let you go, just remind everybody where they can find you and your group. Yeah.
So me personally, I'm Ty Audronis. So the first name is spelled T-Y. The last name is spelled Audronis. And so you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me. My website is audronis.com. Tour de Peloton is a Facebook group. We're not hidden or anything. So all you got to do is look for Tour de Peloton, spelled just like Tour de France. Our website is tourpeloton.com.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of what is clearly a busy schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
To join us.
and thank you.
I want to thank you guys for having me on. This is great exposure for us, and you guys are a whole lot of fun. I look forward to maybe doing some stuff in the future with y'all.
Awesome.
That would be fabulous.
Yeah, totally.
And thank you for running your group fairly, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's better than fairly running a group.
Fair enough. And good luck with the job search and everything going on. And maybe somebody out there knows of some kind of ideas for you in Texas. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'm not opposed to traveling either.
There you go.
I have my own gear. I will travel. So go onto my website. And my resume is there.
Awesome. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you have a good evening, and I will be in touch and let you know when this is going to post. It will most likely be a few weeks, but I'll give you, as we get closer, I'll give you a specific date and all that good stuff. So
that'd be great. My fellow admins are like jonesing to know when it's going to go up.
I'll check the schedule and send you a note. I always have to double check because things move around, but
all right.
But I will definitely.
Hopefully, I didn't
let you know.
say anything bad. Feel free to edit me if you like.
I thought you did great.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I think it was energetic and fun.
Yeah.
So I think it was awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, and thank you guys for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
No
Absolutely.
problem.
Have a good one.
You too.
Well, I guess that brings this one to a close. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
We are going to talk to Tracy Chow. I'm very, very excited about that. Tell me, where does she work now? Can you remind me? She has her own company,
She
right?
has her own company. She's got an app that's about how to help prevent online bullying. Yeah.
And she also is known for helping women get noticed in
advance
in the technology sector. This was one of the most fascinating interviews we have ever had.
Yeah, she was really good. So
yeah, you do not want to miss this.
So until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike, and of course the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and remember, wherever you're getting your podcast from, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you just can't get enough of us, check us out on the Superset, our tonal-based podcast. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling
and running.